Here's your Storm Track 7 forecast.
Good morning to you all. This is Storm Track 7 meteorologist Robbie Commodore. Happy Saturday. We've got a lot of dense fog out across the area on this Saturday morning, just like we've seen at least throughout the past several days. Actual air temperatures right now mostly in the lower to middle 30s across the board, but you see that light gray shading all across eastern Iowa. That's indicative of some pretty low level cloud coverage, if not some fog. Again, it's still pretty much hanging around all across the area. Now, we have had some pretty light winds as well, which is also contributing to this, but again, it's more so that warmer air that is over top the snow cover that we still have that's been leading to this fog. We call that advection fog. And speaking of the fog again, we have these dense fog advisories all across eastern Iowa. That's through about 10 o'clock later on this morning. The fog should begin to burn off around that time frame, but until then, you could have visibilities as low as a quarter mile or less. So if you are on the roadways, just make sure you're careful and you leave a little bit of extra space between you and the car in front of you. That's what we're dealing with. Again, winds pretty light as they have been as of late today, more so to the north and northwest, say around 5 to 10 miles per hour. You see these green bars here. It would indicate some pretty light winds. That continues tonight, even into tomorrow, with some pretty similar wind directions as well. So with that, we're also going to have another chance for some patchy fog development later tonight, lasting possibly through tomorrow morning. Now, in terms of our sky conditions, like I mentioned, the fog should begin to burn off during the late morning hours today, but you will notice all the white that you see on your screen here, that sticks around even past then towards the noon time frame, and that's because we're still going to be dealing with a cloudy sky all across the board. Highs, though, again, this afternoon at least, mostly in the middle to upper 30s across the board, holding pretty steady throughout the day as well. Now, heading into tonight, here we are around the 6 o'clock hour. Still not much has changed, pretty much just a cloudy sky heading through the overnight hours tonight. Temperatures begin to drop, more so towards the lower 30s around the 10 o'clock time frame. By tomorrow morning, some areas could see some lows, mostly in the upper 20s to lower 30s across the board. Still a cloudy sky, though. Maybe some peaks of sun during the late half of the day, before sunset, of course, tomorrow afternoon. But again, by tomorrow morning, speaking of that, you just want to make sure you're careful in case any patchy fog does end up developing, similar to what we're seeing this morning. And speaking of some numbers for today, again, we have that dense fog advisory that's through 10 a.m., but highs today mostly in the middle to upper 30s across the board. That cloudy sky will continue, winds pretty light out of the north-northwest, around 5 to 10 miles per hour. As for tonight, pretty similar story. We'll see some patchy fog under a mostly cloudy sky, winds remaining very light out of the north-northwest. Lows in the upper 20s to near 30 degrees across the board. That could lead to somewhat of a refreeze potential, maybe from any melting snow that we've seen over the past couple of days, or even possibly some freezing fog. So just want to make sure you are aware of that for any slick spots potentially tonight heading to tomorrow morning. Now, speaking of tomorrow, like I mentioned, maybe a few peaks of sun later on in the afternoon. Otherwise, highs pretty similar in the middle to upper 30s across the board. Same story goes for Monday. Pretty mild day, at least compared to what we have seen, at least last weekend, of course. Heading through the rest of the week, highs mostly in the upper 30s to near that 40-degree mark, which will, again, feel pretty nice. Even heading into that first day of February on Thursday, it looks pretty dry most of the week, though. It's the end of next weekend.